were so heavy and everything. So Lieutenant Eric Peterson thought he'd get a horse for his men, to help his men, basically. So he went to the Korean racetrack in Seoul, and a young Korean boy named Kim Hutton had his beloved horse that he had for 4 years. She was a 4-year-old mare. And he had to sell her because his sister lost her leg in a landmine accident. And so he could only get her an artificial leg if he raised $250, basically. So he sold his beloved mare for $250 to the Marine Corps. So the Marines, they brought her back to camp, and they decided to name her Reckless because the rifle that she was carrying ammunition for, the recoilless rifle, its nickname was called Reckless because it was just kind of a contraction of the name, but also one had to be a little reckless to be associated with it because the gun was an anti-tank gun, and it was so big that, and the backblast, as you can see here, the backblast is so great that the enemy could see where the people were firing from. So you could only fire for maybe 4 or 5 rounds, and then you had to pick up the gun and move it and stuff. So they trained her. She was a racehorse. Kim had trained her to be a racehorse, and her mom was a big racehorse in Korea. And she was actually Japanese and everything, and he actually owned her too. But she died after she gave birth to Reckless, and excuse me. And her Korean name was Ah-Chin-Hai, was what they called her in Korea. So they trained her. A platoon sergeant, Joe Latham, was in charge of putting her through hoof camp. And he trained her to get down in bunkers. He trained her to step over barbed wire. He trained her to get in and out of a trailer, a very small 36 by 72 trailer. She was a small little horse. She was about 13 hands high. It varies. Some say she was 9 hands high, which I don't think. I think that's too small. And then others have said she was 14, and I've had people say that that's too big. So she was a small little thing, but she could carry on her back this is the ammo. This is 4 rounds that she would carry, 2 on this side. But during heavy battle, they would strap anywhere from 6 to 10 rounds on her back.
Wow.
So that was 240 pounds of weight that she was carrying up to the gun sights. And they loved this horse. She was a real character. She loved to drink beer and eat eggs and drink coffee. And she got to the point where she would not stay tethered in her pasture. She would get out and she would go into the tents of the Marines, especially in the cold nights, and sleep by the stove, the warm stove, and she'd snore, and it was just really funny what the stories that they would tell her. And so they put her through all of this training and everything, and then she would, in battle, this was one of the first times that she heard the guns go off, and she jumped. They said she was loaded down with the 4 rounds each side, and she jumped like straight up in the air because the noise was so loud. But by the time they had finished doing it, she kind of settled in and kind of accepted it. And what was amazing about her is that all she had to do was be shown something once or twice, and she got it. And even going up to the gun sights, they would lead her up the hill, and then lead her back down, and then she could go up by herself. They would strap the ammunition on her back, and she would go straight up to the firing sites by herself.
That's amazing.
And when the one battle that she was so heroic in, that this, by the way, is what's going to be on her memorial, this copy in here. But during this big battle that she had, it was in March of 1953, and it was a battle for Outpost Vegas, and this battle took on basically 5 days. And at the time of this battle, there was so much coming in. It was like coming in at 500 rounds a minute. And there was so much going in and going out that the ammunition was exploding. They were hitting each other midair, and it's exploding in these aerial bursts. And at the time it was written that there had never been any kind of warfare like this. And when you think of like World War II with Iwo Jima and stuff like this, this was even supposedly as big or bigger with the amount of incoming coming in and going out and